Allora, buongiorno a tutti, è un piacere avere la Biennale di Venezia qui in istituto ed è un ritorno propiziato da questa magnifica iniziativa di un archivio storico, Centro Internazionale della Ricerca sulle Arti Contemporanee. Il mio primo libro era dedicato a Vittorio Pica, che della Biennale è stato un grande amico, sostenitore e interprete, e quindi un archivio storico che parta, che attraversi la storia della Biennale e io trovo che sia un'impresa importantissima, perché la Biennale è passato oltre ad essere futuro, l'una cosa si unisce all'altra. Do il benvenuto al Presidente Roberto Cicutto, al Direttore Generale Andrea Del Mercato, a Debora Rossi che dirige appunto la sezione dedicata all'archivio, e all'amica dell'Istituto Cecilia Alemani. E do il benvenuto a Fabrizio Di Michele, Console Generale d'Italia a New York, al quale cedo la parola.
Grazie professore. I'm very glad, I'm very proud actually to be here and open this presentation. We are very happy to welcome back the whole leadership of Biennale di Venezia in New York City, as well as our friend Cecilia Alemani, who has been the curator of the Art Biennale 22, probably the most successful Art Biennale ever. I read it carefully, not as a friend, I'm saying it because it's true. And it's, I mean, of course, Biennale Venezia doesn't really need any introduction. It's the oldest, possibly the most relevant culture exhibition in the world, and spanning from art to architecture to music to dance. But as far as I understand today, what we will hear is more about a new project, focusing on this very rich heritage of the Biennale, which is based on its archives, which again are quite unique archives, not only for covering all these different kind of arts, but also because they date back of a century in the case of art, and many, many decades for the other disciplines. And Biennale has had this important merit to preserve what used to be contemporary art in some cases. Probably today we would call it differently. And now putting it at disposal of students, researchers, let's say, again, culture and education, which is a great added value that Biennale is offering, again, all over the world. If there is some really peculiar trait of Biennale di Venezia, that since the very beginning that it's been open, like art should be, open to the world, open to innovation, open to new visions, and even new technologies, which is probably the secret of the continuous success of Biennale di Venezia. So thank you all for being here. I'm sure this will be a very interesting presentation. Grazie.
Sorry, before we start, I really wanted to thank the Consul, our host, the Direttore dell'Istituto di Cultura. This is a place which is very important for the Italian culture and for myself personally. I have been here many times when I was a film producer to promote Italian cinema, president of Cinecittà to promote the cultural aspects of our industries. There are friends like Sally Fisher, who has been very helpful in doing with us this kind of action, and now as president of La Biennale. So I'm very grateful for this occasion. I thank all of you for being here, and then I leave the floor to Direttore Generale Andrea Del Mercato, who will introduce the main aspects of the institution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the uncomfortable role of preceding my president and giving you a sort of short history of the Biennale in a nutshell. Let's see if I... Sorry. Thank you very much. Okay. Just to keep it brief, I just want to start from the origins. The man you're seeing is Riccardo Selvatico. He was the founder of the institution, which was actually a municipal institution until the 1930s, and I'll tell you something later about this. Riccardo Selvatico was a poet, a playwright, a man of theatre. He was head of a coalition, a progressive coalition for the city, which had the idea among the cosmopolite sort of group of intellectuals who were his friends. They had the idea of trying to rejuvenate the city by calling the best of contemporary art production in the city of Venice for a biennial. So the idea was to start in 1893. The coalition collapsed. The Biennale wasn't organized, so the first edition is 1895. But I would say with a rather unique sort of institutional etiquette, which was maybe common at the time. The new mayor, Grimani, asked Riccardo Selvatico, said, "You had a great idea, that was interesting, but you should keep up to the promise, and you should organize it yourself for the city." So Riccardo Selvatico was actually the Secretary General for the exhibition of art for the, I would say, the first 6-7 editions at the time. This was the provisional central pavilion at the time, 1895, for the first edition. It was a totally sort of provisional building. It looks like a very solid one, but it's never been a solid one, to be honest. This is what it looks now, what it looks like. Now, what is the Biennale about? This slide, I think, tries to sort of recap what we're all about. We are a national institution funded by a national law, defined by a national law, to be more precise. We promote research on contemporary arts by exhibitions and festivals. So the amount of the research amounts to the presentation of an exhibition or a festival in the fields of architecture, art, cinema, music, theatre, and dance. You'll see in the little house, in the little hut in the picture, the origins. 1895 is art, 1932 is cinema, 1930 is music, 1934 is theatre, 1980 is architecture, and then the latest department is dance, which was created in 1999. Everything we do resides in the archive, is deposited in the archive. I will leave the floor shortly to Debora, after the President, to describe what the archive is and what the archive will be. Now, we're a private institution. That is what the law says. The law goes back to 1998. Some minor changes have been given into the institution in 2004. As I was saying before, the overall goal is to promote at national and international level the study, research, knowledge in the fields of contemporary arts, and organize at least every 2 years exhibitions and festivals at international level via its artistic departments. This is the law. This is an article of the constituting law. All revenues and profits should be destined to the mission, to the institutional mission. We're a not-for-profit institution. We're a foundation, however, we're a foundation Italian way. We have no endowment. We have no financial stock of resources to which we can refer to and reside upon. Now, the governance. The president is appointed by the Ministry of Italian Culture. The Board of Administration, again, by law, is constituted by the president, by the mayor of Venice, that by law is the vice president, by the president of the region of Veneto, by the president of the metropolitan city of Venice, formerly known as province, now coinciding with the mayor, and one member either appointed again by the Ministry of Culture or by a private member if a private member joins the foundation. I would not drag you to to explain why we don't have a private member. For the time being, the fifth member is appointed by the Ministry of Culture. The Board of Auditors is appointed by a joint decree by the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Culture. And this, I think, is this slide is quite important because it tries to explain the complexity of what we are and how we operate. As I was saying before, by law we are private, but we are in actual facts a public equivalent body, so we are summoned to follow some of the laws which apply to public bodies. However, we keep a financial system which is purely private, like a private stock company, and we follow the Italian Civil Code, which refers to the private institutions. We are, however, rightly supervised by the Ministry of Culture, which double-checks our correct management. And we have a yearly report issued by the Italian National Court of Auditors, the Corte dei Conti, which vigilates on the financial management of the institution. This is a crucial element of our constitution. We have a dual system which amounts to artistic directors, which are appointed upon proposal of the President by the Board of Directors, and which basically have the role of organizing and deciding the content matter of the exhibitions and festivals that we organize. So they do have the capacity to complete the structure, not being full-time members of the structure itself. So this is, I would say, rather peculiar. Cecilia Alemani has lived in directly that sort of important role and nature of complementing and completing the structure. Usually directors are appointed for one edition for art and architecture. Longer mandates are usually possible and actually come about for dance, music, theatre and cinema. The artistic director for the time being are Adriano Pedrosa, who will curate the 2024 Art Biennale. Leslie Locco has just finished the 18th International Architecture Exhibition. Lucia Ronchetti is the first woman directing the Contemporary Music Festival. Wayne McGregor, choreographer, British choreographer, is the dance department artistic director. The duo Ricci and Forte is the theatre director for the time being. Alberto Barbera is the film festival. Now, if the artistic directors do have a, present and complement and complete the institution with their artistic visions and projects, it is up to the Biennale and to the management structure to actually realize them, working in close connection with the artistic director themselves. This very boring diagram shows the way we function. I have to point out that basically the inner core refers to central departments that work transversally for all the artistic departments. Let's see if I can find the, no, yeah, exactly. These are the central departments and these are the artistic departments. Each one of them has the artistic director and a manager in charge of the organization. For cinema, it's actually myself. Visual arts has one manager that works either both with art and architecture artistic directors. Dance, music and theatre, one manager working with 3 directors. These elements are quite crucial because I want to point out that we do not externalize what we perceive as being core functions in terms of strategic development of the institution. You will see later on that, for example, we carry out directly all the restoration works that we carry out on buildings which are owned by the city and given to us for free as a contribution to the life of the institution. This, I think, this slide gives you an idea where we operate in Venice. Not only the island, let's call it city center, but also the Lido, obviously for the film festival, and also the mainland where currently part of the archive is based. Now, as I was saying before, we intervene directly on restoration, on buildings which amount to 76 6,000 square meters, and if we take into account the external areas as well, we're talking about 164,000 square meters, which is, I would say, quite a number, quite a number. As I was saying before, we have an internal unit which carries out all the projects and all the interventions for restoring the sites and keeping them up to date to the needs of the public, and not only in terms of safety and security, but also in terms of modern buildings capable of hosting activities at the best of all possible ways in terms of comfort for the public. In recent years, we have raised money for a total of 100 million euro for restoring the sites. We've partially also financed directly the restorations, but it's been our capacity to actually present ideas on how to ameliorate the sites that has proven successful, allowing us from 1998 to 2020 to collect something like 100 million euro. This capacity has been also appreciated by the national authorities, and we've received a grant for the transformation up from here to 2026 and the restoration of all the areas of Arsenale and Giardini and the Lido as well. If you've been to the Biennale, I suppose you're familiar with the Arsenale, who's been restored since 1998 and transformed into a very unique place to host exhibitions. We also have countries joining us in the area. This is the Corderia, one of the most challenging, if not, but also amazing places where to organize exhibitions. These are the Gaggiandre. You'll see pictures of how the site used to look like before restoration and what it looks like now. So these are examples of what we've been doing in recent years in terms of, giving new life to buildings that we love very much and which have a unique history, not only for Venice, but I would say for the whole of Italy. For the whole of Italy. So this is again before and after. Yeah, this I think is a rather vivid example of what we've done in recent years. The Giardini hosts the central pavilion, but also 31 national countries operating in the area. This is the bill. I would say the France, Germany, US, all the Belgium, which was actually the first ever pavilion to be built as a permanent one in the Giardini in 1908. This is actually the latest one, Korea, built in 1984, if I'm correct. Switzerland, Great Britain, Austria, Finland, Hungary. The Lido is where we organize the film festival. We have restored the amazing Sala Grande by ourselves. It was very much needed. We needed to have a proper room screening hall for competing with international festivals, which were operating in much better facilities at the time. This is the Sala d'Arsenal. This transformation has been carried out directly by us, by our own architects. This screening hall hosts the press and professionals screenings in the morning. Very much appreciated. The casino, these are temporary structures we built. Just another short detail. We organize art and architecture exhibitions which revolve around three main pillars: the exhibition carried out by our curator, the national pavilion, which are totally autonomous in their capacity to decide content matter and also in terms of budget and organization, and we also have collateral events taking place. Let me just go back to before leaving the floor to President Cicutto. I just want to, he will be speaking about the college. Sorry, I thought it was you. I got it wrong. Before leaving the floor to Debora, who will speak about the archive, I just want to highlight what is a key indicator that we take into account to measure our capacity to be significant in what we do. The key indicator is our capacity to involve young generations. this is to say the youngsters, both in terms of educational activities, in terms of the college that the President will describe later on, and in terms of attracting universities that should perceive as crucial and important the fact that they come and join the activities with their own students. So that is really crucially a number that we look at, because if we are significant to the young generations, there's going to be a future for us, and there's going to be, it means we have the capacity to interact on the contemporary language with the future generations. So in order to do this, this is actually stuck, okay. Okay, this is a visual example of what we mean. We go from the kindergarten to universities. This is kids going through the Rem Koolhaas exhibition in 2014. We go and pick them up with our bus. We take them on a boat to the exhibition site. That's the way, we just don't want to get, we want to make sure that they don't get lost. This is to say. And then they come and actually enjoy a relaxed exhibition area, enjoying here, very nice weather. So this is the calendar for next year. We start off with Carnival devoted again to young generation. Art exhibition will open in April. Theatre will open in June. Dance will open in July. Cinema end of August. And then end of September, music. And then we close the exhibition of art on the 24th of November. I would say this is it. Thank you very much. And it's a real pleasure being here. Thank you.
First of all, thank you. Thank you, Consul, for being here, and thank you, Director, for hosting us in this fantastic institute. But let me special thank also to Malina and her staff for having helped us to organize this meeting. I would like to start my speech with the images of a special exhibition that took place in 2020 in the Giardini, in the Central Pavilion, and was Le Muse Inquiete, the disquieted muses when La Biennale di Venezia meets history. It was a special exhibition because in 2020 we had to postpone for the pandemic the International Architecture exhibition, and we asked to our 6 artistic directors of all our departments to realize a special exhibition, and under the supervision of Cecilia Alemani. Of course, we were much more used to exhibition than to exhibition projects. And so the disquieted muses took place in the Giardini. And the exhibition takes us in a journey through the materials of the archive, mainly of the Biennale archive, but we have also material from others like Cinecittà Luce, who helped us to organize it. And it compares episodes from the history of La Biennale with the main events of the 20th century. And crisis, wars, generational conflicts, and revolution, and new cultural revolution. And it showed how the history of the institution hosted in their activities these main events, and was a witness of these events. But I do not want to go deeper in the context of the exhibition, because I know that Cecilia after will talk about it much better than I could do. But I will show you only some images from the main rooms of the Central Pavilion. And what I would like to underline is that this exhibition, it represents not only the way for the Biennale to react to the pandemic, we had this exhibition, but in the same year the dance theater and music programs took place, and we also realized the International Film Festival. We were the only film festival that took place in that year, when La Biennale meets Italy. This is one of the key points of our history, but it only announces a new method and a new program, a new way to look at our festival and exhibition, because we thought that when festival and exhibition are over, there is a new space, a new venue where the research had to continue and to open up to the world and offer new opportunities of research and new projects. And this place is the archive. The idea of an archive on contemporary art emerged since the very first Biennale, which was famously held in 1895, as the director first said. And the idea was of the Antonio Mareini, who was at that time Secretary General of the institution. So in 1928, the archive was founded as an institution of research. In 1930, it will be developed in archive on contemporary arts, with the purpose of collect and preserve all the materials of the participating artists and their activities. And the result was a mix of papers, sketches, photos, books, a sort of Wunderkammer in a Vivarbu style. Currently, the venues of the archive are in the mainland of Venice, in the Scientific and Technological Park in Marghera, which offer buildings that can host our materials with the proper standards for the preservation, while the library itself is in the Giardini, in the middle of the central pavilion, in the middle of the art and architecture exhibition. And just a brief description of the material that compose our archive. The very, very heart of the archive are the historical holdings that collects all the papers, the correspondence, the contract, the board papers with the artist from the beginning to date, and they have been all restored and catalogued with a program that we followed with the local superintendents for the archive in Venice. And there are more than 10,000 dossiers. These are the boxes that collected the dossier, and I like these images because they are the so-called black boxes, without the other one, with the material from 1893 to 1942. We lived it in black boxes because in the origin they were in black, and these are some of examples of the paper that are fantastic, with the correspondence with artists, but also the time budget and so on. And of course, they are referred to all the departments of the institution. And the second collection is the photo library. It is composed of more than 30,000 plates that have been cleaned and restored and listed by activity, and more than 30,000 negatives and 800,000 prints. And of course, most of them have been digitalized, but now we are starting a new program of digitalization of all our photo library, and and in order to have more opportunities and for the research. These are the plates, and these are the prints, some part of the prints and the albums from the prints. Another collection are the posters of all the activities of the Biennale since the beginnings. There are more than 4,000 items, plus another 10,000 copies for the preservation, and another 20,000 copies for the doubles. And they are all digitalized, and we have a database online on our website that allows to the consultation also online. And this is another special collection is the press cuttings collection, and are all the materials referred to the press since the beginnings, and so starting from 2009 they are all in a digital format, of course. And then these are the press cuttings. There are periodical and press review from the origin. We have the press of the first edition of the art exhibition. And here some images from the media library. The media library has all the films that have been showed in the film festival, but also the documentation of the activities. And now we are digitalizing all the collections in order to enlarge the materials at disposal. And then we have also an art fund, because in the early edition especially in the early edition of the art exhibition, artists used to leave their work to the Biennale. So we have more than 3,000 works, like painting, sketches, drawings, prints, and also a special collection of videos, including the art tapes collection that the Biennale acquired in the 80s. And finally, the library. The library, as I said, it is in the central pavilion at the Giardini, and it collects more than 170,000 books. Most of them, about 70%, are about art and architecture. And as you can see, the library is also the venue for our meetings and for our workshops. Because I want to stress that in our region, the archive is not only a place where documents are collected and preserved, but it has to develop, to be also a venue for developing new projects and new research at disposal of students and researchers. And so we have workshops, as you can see, but also we have other programs like colleges. We have a special project which is called Writing in Residence, where tutors train young graduates in writing on topics about the archive and the departments of our institution. And then we ask, we have some images for the library, and then we ask also to our directors, as a specific part of their appointment, to imagine and to develop a special exhibition starting from the materials of the archive. The disquieted muses was a unique event, but usually these exhibitions are displayed in the headquarters of La Biennale in Ca' Giustiniana in Venice. And these are the posters of some of the exhibitions that we realized in the last 20 years. And all these exhibitions are available online in our website, but are also at disposal of third parties that want to host them in their facilities. But and these are some example of the last meetings that we have this year. These are 2 days devoted to the Luca Ronconi archive, because we acquired the Luca Ronconi archives because we think that we can put at disposal our venues and our professionality to host also the archives from other parties, from other artists that participated in to our activities. And so on the occasion of the Luca Ronconi archive acquisition, we have 2 days of meetings. And this is another example. We acquired the Lorenzo Capellini's archive, who documented all the activities of the Biennale, but all the 20th century activities. And so we acquired here its archive, and we have a meeting and also a small exhibition in Ca Justinian, and the catalog is available here. It's among the volumes we wrote in New York. Yes, and this is the example of the last exhibition on the occasion of the acquisition of Luca Massimo Barbero's archive, who is a living curator, and he decided to give to the Biennale archive its archive, but it's a living archive, and so it will be increased and enriched time by time with its own activities. But this shows how the archive can be a very living space. But that was not all. We thought that we have developed the activities. This is an image from the archive in Marghera. We are the students that attend to the research with our colleagues. But we wanted to enlarge these activities, creating an international research center on contemporary art, involving institutions, museums, universities, and students 365 days a year. And the main objective is share information, but also launching new project and new common project, research project. And as a first step of this new program, in the last 2 years, we had a special research with hosting more than 120 students in our venues, coming from La Sapienza University in Rome, Ulm in Milan, Ca' Foscari and UAV in Venice, Accademia di Belle Arti e Conservatorio Benedetto Marcello di Venezia, and they had to collect data and CVs of all the artists that have taken part to the Biennale activities in the last 20 years, in order to draw a geopolitical map of art in the last 20 years. I would like to leave also the floor to some. Can you help me with the video, please? I will leave the space to the colleagues, our partners from the university, just to let you.
In 2021, Ca' Foscari University of Venice took up a challenge posed by the president of the Biennale, Roberto Cicutto. We were going to draw up a geopolitical map of the last 20 years, from 1999 to 2020, based on the artists who participated in the various biennales. Our students could work on important sources for historical, political, and cultural analysis of the last 20 years, by being given access to the holdings of the Historical Archives of Contemporary Arts of the Venice Biennale, ASAC. Students enjoyed a real team research experience working together with peers from other cultural and academic backgrounds and from other cities. Ca' Foscari University provided a distinctive contribution to the project in that students worked on the creation of their geopolitical map and several faculty members were also involved. This educational and teaching experience required a great deal of commitment from everyone involved and produced relevant results. A new way of looking at archival research and the analysis of the present stemming from the tools and documents held in the archives of contemporary arts. I hope that this educational experience can serve as a model for sharing and enhancing knowledge, and that it will provide a growing number of students the skills they need to work in the realms of archives, history, languages, economics, and culture in general.
About 20 students from the University of Rome La Sapienza took part in the ASAC project. Their background was different. Most of them came from contemporary art history, but we had also students coming from history of architecture, of film, of dance, and theater. It was a fairly large group, but all of them were enthusiastic and very glad to take part in the different phases of the project. As their teachers, we would like to stress that this experience gave them things, notions that will be very important in their future lives. First of all, they learned the fundamental importance of studying first-hand sources in a very well-kept and very well-organized archive as the one at the ASAC. And then they had the opportunity to understand that contemporary creation is the outcome of intermingling, of the opening up of boundaries. In contemporary art, there are no strict demarcations between the visual arts and architecture, theater, cinema, dance, and music. And what is even more important is that the Venice Biennale has always had an international vocation, which in recent years has expanded further to new countries and new protagonists of the arts. Therefore, the Biennale is now, even more than in the past, a meeting place for creativity from all over the world. And the students from Sapienza have experienced all this, and it is going to leave a long-lasting trace in their lives.
La sollecitazione venuta dalla Biennale di Venezia, da alcuni atenei italiani per l'Università IULM è stata un'occasione assolutamente straordinaria. Innanzitutto per entrare in rete con una delle istituzioni più prestigiose del nostro paese, ma a livello internazionale, ma soprattutto perché è stata un momento di grande rilievo nel quale alcuni nostri studenti hanno avuto l'opportunità di avviare un lavoro di studio, tirocinio e formazione presso la Biennale di Venezia, lavorando sotto la guida di uno staff che ha enorme esperienza per costruire una mappatura geopolitica delle personalità dell'arte che hanno esposto in Biennale dal 1999 fino ad oggi. Devo dire un percorso che mette insieme formazione, quindi le università italiane, alcune università italiane, con una grande istituzione. Un progetto che collega in maniera virtuosa e potrebbe diventare un modello anche da esportare in altre situazioni il sistema della formazione e un ente di archiviazione e di esposizione prestigioso come la Biennale. Dunque un momento anche umanamente irripetibile per i nostri studenti che si sono trovati a fare rete con studenti di altri atenei insieme con ricercatori e professionisti della Biennale di Venezia. Ecco, a noi farebbe piacere che questa sperimentazione avviata dall'istituzione veneziana possa diventare un po' un modello cui ispirarsi anche per esperienze analoghe, esperienze che in fondo incarnano anche quella vocazione dell'Ateneo, del nostro Ateneo di IULM, ad aprirsi costantemente al dialogo con realtà pubbliche e private di livello nazionale e internazionale, ma anche con istituzioni che si muovono su ambiti linguistici diversi, esattamente come la Biennale.
È stata un'occasione importante quella offerta dalla Biennale alle istituzioni dell'alta formazione universitarie e accademiche lo scorso anno a Venezia. Un'occasione più unica che rara perché...
Okay. But to finally to what's next? No, posso ritornare? What's next? Because we thought that to do all that, we needed some more new spaces and new venue. And so we started also a new project in order to have a proper venue for these new activities. And so we are going to restore a new space in the Arsenale in the middle of the Art and Architecture exhibition. This specific go. Possiamo andare alla fine, per favore. And a new venue devoted to the hospitality of the students and to let them have a proper spaces for specific projects and research projects. Is a very special venue because it's near to the very close to our activities. This is that's okay. Thank you. Okay. As I said, it is in the middle of the Arsenale. It is called Architettura del Ferro, and it is divided into the first part devoted to public activities, and the second part devoted to the storage of the documents with proper standards. And there are more than 8,000 square meters devoted all to this new project, and just some pictures and rendering of the what will be the new space that is under reconstruction, and the goal is to move to the Arsenale in 2026. So. See you in Venice, see you in the Arsenale, in the new archive in 2026. And thank you. I leave the floor to the President.
Okay, I speak from here because I need to drink in order to bother you with my coffee. Nothing to do with COVID-19. It's a laryngopharyngite documented by a doctor, so don't worry about that. As you have heard, we, in a way, have started the sixth art, the art of connection. This is what we pushed very much, very strongly in the last 4 years. And this is not only to get people coming, that's why we are here, to speak with university, colleges, students, professors, curators, museum, giving them the possibility to use this space for their studies. But the second connection we really want to improve is the connection, the dialogue among the arts. It's fantastic what Cecilia has done with the other directors to put art, cinema, architecture, music, theater, and dance in a dialogue, showing what happened to them during more than 70 years. Biennale is 130 years old, but they have chosen that period, not just because they were living in the same space, but because they influenced each other very much. So what I'm going to say now to explain very briefly is what the college are, because the college is another very important activity Biennale has started years ago. I found it and I really appreciated the incredible possibilities to give to young artists in the six arts to improve and to be put in connection with an international network, which is very much something which is missing in Italy. So I have a few slides, but I have a few clips. You have the clip of just to show you the young generations coming from all over the world to Venice to be trained by the artistic director and the tutors that they choose for that purpose. And then I don't have other.
But I recognize from the curatorship of the exhibition that in some senses the stronger the hand or the idea of the curator, curiously the more freedom the participant has. And this is really a comment on resources. In retrospect, I would never have done this college 1 month after the exhibition ended. Personally, I didn't have the capacity to curate the college. And it needed, I think, a very, very strong curatorial direction, because what happens in the end is you get 15 people or 17 people or whatever it is who simply don't have enough framework. They come to it with what they know how to do. And if the purpose of the college is to do something radically different, I think the tutors need much, much stronger framework.
Para mí, lo que es toda la experiencia de la Bienal es una cosa tan contradictoria como increíble, porque nunca había imaginado llegar a un lugar como este.
Job, your grade. So I think this was, as a laboratory, to have that chance to protest without implications and to also get the chance to really claim our voice was really important.
I've never been more grateful for an experience like this. It has changed my life for the better in so many ways.
We haven't been thanking her enough, and I would like her to see that for herself, that this is all her creation.
Definitely grateful. This is a gift, a real gift. So thank you, everyone.
Can you stop a bit? Actually, those two clips should have been shown at the end, because they are about the new colleges of art and architecture, which is exactly what I wanted to speak about. But first, I want to show you what happens in the other arts. So we have, but now you have already seen these, so we save time later. We show the other clips and then.
नाम मुक्ति भवन है, लेकिन हम मुक्ति प्राप्त होने तक कमरा नहीं देते। कमरा सिर्फ 15 दिन के लिए मिलता है बस।
बस 15 दिन? उसके बाद
भैया हम क्या जाने, आप जानिए। अगर ऊपर चले गए तो ठीक है, नहीं तो फिर घर वापस जाइए।
Il rumore ci fa dimenticare noi stessi, copre ogni paura.
Immersive section, virtual reality.
My piece is about how science can inform music and how we can use music to interpret science and engage different people in different aspects of science. And it is inspired by poetry that is composed by a chemist in Australia. From that poetry, I am interpreting an experience of working with atomic force microscopy. The piece is composed of my voice and the voice of the poet, and I will also be performing the poetry live throughout the performance.
I'm a composer, and here at the Biennale I will present my new work, Terminal. So in this piece I'm using a lot of different voices of many different people. Some of them are really close to me, some of them I just recorded randomly, and I have a lot of different sounds, crowds, choirs, single voices. And what I do in the piece is I control them using my own voice.
Yeah, the experience here at the Biennale College was really nice. Especially the best part was meeting amazing colleagues, our cohort, so much diverse, talented and amazing people surrounding us. So kind of interacting with them and working with them was a very big pleasure.
Now for this project I wanted to take that to a more futuristic world using machines. But still it has a dramaturgy and some kind of theatrical influence and musical influence, I would say. So I hope it's a mix of what we like from the old with something very new. And I really appreciate also that this year of Biennale College is very open towards different disciplines. And for me, the topic of micromusic and also of the technological aspect of it was really interesting, because my work the last years were already going in that direction.
Qui presenterò un progetto che definirei site specific. Visitando spesso Venezia, un elemento che c'è sempre, o quasi, insomma, quasi sempre, sono le alghe. Cioè cosa posso fare musicalmente con le alghe. L'installazione quindi sarà su 3 sensi diversi, che sono quello visuale, quello olfattivo e quello appunto musicale.
Machine Inside Me è un progetto per il quale io ho seguito le fasi di design e progettazione e poi di costruzione e perfezionamento di 3 diversi strumenti musicali. Questi strumenti coesistono in una dimensione per cui vengono utilizzati sia dal computer, attivando questi dispositivi, e sia dai performer. E la composizione semplicemente non fa altro che evidenziare le caratteristiche degli strumenti e utilizzare le loro possibilità timbriche al fine di creare delle differenti soluzioni di orchestrazione, comunque sia di suono generale.
I position the work a lot through this idea of sonic ecologies, this idea of listening to the landscape, especially now with the kind of accelerated climate happening. I work on a piece called Weather Gardens. It is primarily starting as a research topic for me, looking at this idea of how humans are generating new sounds in our landscape. So the topic is looking at infrasound, and this is an infrasonic microphone. These recording any frequencies between 0 and 20 hertz, and those frequencies are completely out of the human hearing range. Ones that we should listen to understand our landscape more through sound.
This project is very different from my other work. It is a piece that reimagines the instrument, the grand piano, which is one of the most iconic instruments in West.
Now that they have seen what's going on when we do this college activity, I try to explain what there is behind that, and it will be very short. So consider the next slide like subtitles, so you will understand better what I'm saying in English. Can you help me? You have. The college program, the purpose of the colleges is to promote young talents in the different disciplines of La Biennale, art, architecture, cinema, dance, music, and theater, offering them the opportunity to work in contact with master tutors and to develop creations that will become part of the programs of the exhibition and the festivals. In addition to these colleges, there is a college in critical writing and research on the 6 arts of La Biennale, as an activity of the historical archive. Debora has already mentioned it. The college program. The colleges are launched internationally by the artistic directors through a public call. The selected participants complete an internship in Venice, meeting and working with the tutors who are always chosen by the artistic directors. Can you imagine people coming from all over the world? Some of them never got out from their countries and they spend weeks in Venice. It's like giving them LSD. It's incredible. It's incredible. And the work they do, it's incredible. Biennale College Dance. I mentioned the artistic director under whom the activity has been made. Ismael Ivo, Virgilio Sieni, Marie Chouinard, Wayne McGregor. Following l'Arsenale della Danza 2009 to 2012, in the year 2013, the first international calls for young dancers were launched under the name of Biennale College Dance. Since 2017, the College Dance annually launches 2 international calls, one dedicated to young dancers under 28 years old, and one dedicated to 2-3 young choreographers under 35 years old. Some numbers. More than 2,500 applicants since the beginning of the activity, 680 participants, 104 shows performances, 247 tutors. You can see the names, I won't mention all of them, but very, very, very high quality people. Biennale College Music, artistic directors Luca Francesconi, Ivan Fedele, Lucia Ronchetti. After cycles of experimental workshops organized since 2008, from 2013, Biennale College Music selected 4 teams of composers and librettists for the production of short micro-budget chambers opera. In 2015, Biennale College Music selected an international youth orchestra of 24 musicians. Since 2019, with the establishment of the Music and Multimedia IT Center, the Biennale College Music has enriched its programs with international master classes for young DJs, producers, and performers. In 2020, Biennale College Music launched an international call for the production of 4 original compositions. In the last 3 years, under the direction of Lucia Ronchetti, 3 international calls for composition for vocal ensemble, site-specific sound installations, performers and experimental performances, and 1 national call for performance in a vocal ensemble. I give you those details because it's very important to understand that this is a unique experience, such a large range of chances the Biennale gives to those young artists. And this continuous development, it changes every year. In 2022, 5 international calls under 30 for musical theater, experimental theater, site-specific sound installations, radio opera and radio drama productions, 2 DJs, electronics performers, chamber music repertoire. In 2023, 1 international call for performers, sound artists or programmers under 30 for the production of a new digital music project. The Golden Lion this year has been Brian Eno, so we jump. The artistic director has decided to do very innovative experience and very big stars to tell the way they have developed the art. Numbers, more than 1,200 applicants since the beginning of the activity, 247 participants, 52 shows, presentations, and performances, 77 tutors. The names are there. Biennale College Theatre. You, very nice. Artistic Director Giorgio Barberio Corsetti, Maurizio Scaparro, Alex Rigola, Antonio Latella, the duo Ricci Forte. In 2008, the theater department created the 2008 International Theater Laboratory for Emerging Artists. Since 2013, Biennale College Theatre launched international calls for workshops for creating short performances. In 2017, a national call was added for directors under 30, then under 35, for the production of a play with a budget of 110,000 euros. In 2018, the national call for authors under 40 for creation of dramaturgical works. In 2021 was added the international call for site-specific performances under 40 for the production of 2 projects, 25,000 euros per project. Numbers, more than 8,000 applicants since the beginning of the activity, 2,437 participants, 115 presentation shows, performances, and the names of the tutors are there. Biennale College Cinema. I think there is a book here telling the story of this college. Cinema is always privilege. In 2012, the first international call for feature film was launched, followed by a specific call for Italian projects in 2017. In 2016, the call for virtual reality projects was launched aimed at the directors making their second feature film. Upon passing the first selection process, this is the way it works, 12 international teams participate in a workshop to develop their projects. Projects that pass the second selection participate in workshops focused on screenwriting, production, technological aspects, and distribution. At the end of these training sessions, La Biennale di Venezia supports, with a grant of 200,000 euros, the production of up to 4 feature films, 1 Italian and 2 directed by women directors. With a grant of 75,000 euros, the production of a virtual reality project to be presented as a world premiere at the Venice International Film Festival. Numbers, more than 2,881 applicants since the beginning of the activity. Participants, 267 projects. Feature film produced thanks to a grant, 37, produced through Biennale College Cinema, 26. Virtual reality projects produced thanks to a grant, 9 produced by the Biennale College Cinema Immersive, 13. Artistic Director Alberto Barbera, Head of Program, Artistic Director Alberto Barbera, Head of Program Savina Neirotti, Head of Studies Jane Williams and Michelle Reyac. 110 tutors. Most of the film met very important international festivals like Berlinale, Rotterdam, Carlo Vivari, Vision du Réel, Biennale, so and so. And last year, or beginning of this year, in the Paris Theatre, Netflix and the Gotham Award organized a retrospective of some of the movies produced through this system. Then we go back to the ASAC, the Historical Archive College. Is addressed to 3-5 young college graduates under 30, scholars of the performing arts, the cinema, architecture, dance, music, theater, for the purpose of writing critical text that will then be collected in a publication by La Biennale di Venezia publisher. The selected young scholars start with the theme proposed by La Biennale, are guided by the tutors in their search of sources and historical references. At the end, they are asked to write a paper from a minimum of 10 to a maximum of 15 pages. The final version is published by La Biennale. Numbers, 5 total number of editions since 2018, 306 applicants since the beginning of the activity, 107 participants, 107 published papers, 10 tutors. Numbers in terms of funds, what we have paid for. For cinema has been spent 10 million 291,700 euros. Cinema immersive, 1 million euros. 1,851,500. Dance, 2,660,000 euros. Music, 2,107,000 euros. Theater, 2,580,000 euros. For the archive, 306,000. Total, 19,796,200 euros. Not so bad. I think that this is a very important experience. Biennale has started years ago, and is really, abuse word, the feature for the arts, but also the human experience those people have sharing this experience in a place like Venice for weeks, knowing important artists, and again, thanks to the artistic director who, in addition to that, to all we have to do for their exhibition, they pay attention to this important section. Now we go back to the youngest colleges, art and architecture. This is my fault. And the origin of that was, sorry, it's sparkling. It was not until 2022, on the occasion of the 59th International Art Exhibition curated by Cecilia Alemani, the most successful ever, that the Art College was established, and 2023, on the occasion of the 18th International Architecture Exhibition, that the Architecture College followed. In 2020, the worst year of the COVID-19 pandemic, La Biennale canceled the 17th International Architecture Exhibition, like it's been recalled by Andrea and Debora, postponing it to the year 2021, while the Venice International Film Festival and the Dance, Music and Theatre Festivals were held in person. But all 6 sitting artistic directors, coordinated by Cecilia Alemani, were asked to organize for the first time in the history of La Biennale a collective exhibition that would rely on the materials of the historic archive to illustrate the key moments in which La Biennale came face to face with history. The exhibition was titled The Disquieted Muses, La Biennale di Venezia Meets History. It fostered a reflection as to why 2 of the most important Biennale exhibitions, art and architecture, did not have a college program. There could have been many reasons for this, including problems of funding, but the pandemic experience itself focused attention on La Biennale's responsibility to create the same opportunities for young artists to emerge as it had for their colleagues in other disciplines. There was yet another aspect that convinced us to take on this challenge. The Biennale exhibitions and festivals are the absolute domain of the curators, who are total autonomous in their work. Only the colleges make it possible for young people to answer a public call and submit their own candidacy to take their place in the spotlight, even though they were not selected by the curator. Means that the curator in art and architecture, they decide who will be part of the international exhibitions, but those people respond to a public call. They do an applications. So it's an autonomous, spontaneous action, and they then select. But the first step comes from those people. The transparency of this procedure allows young men and women at the start of their career, but already professionals in their field, to aspire at the end of the selection process to see their productions presented on equal footing with their more renewed colleagues. And for the significant number of those who do not make it to the end of the process, the experience of participating in the work that is done in Venice, in contact with the artistic director and the chosen tutors, will represent an advanced educational experience and exceptional human adventure. The process that led to the Architecture College was different, however. Undoubtedly, An increased attention to social themes and to sustainability was quite evident in the most recent edition of the exhibition. Reporting from the front, curated by Alejandra Ravena in 2016, and Free Space, curated by Yvonne Farrell and Sheila McNamara in 2018, had anticipated, among other things, a new attention to social awareness. How We Will Live Together, curated by Ashen Sarkis in 2021, highlighted principles of coexistence everywhere and with everyone, even beyond the dominion of the human genre. The choice of a curator who works in the field of education, of African origin and with personal and professional experience in the UK and USA, broke the diaphragm that seems to build unsurmountable obstacles to the realization of a college for young architects. Because in her exhibition, The Laboratory of the Future, Leslie Locco placed the accent on ethical and theoretical issues rather than on the science of building, we became convinced that the college would serve not only to produce examples of construction and buildings designated for social purposes or mindful of environment sustainability, but could also build the foundation for a consciousness of building and how to transmit it. While Cecilia Alemani's college introduced young artists into an international contest, a practice similar to the existing colleges, the Architecture College instantly revealed itself to be a flexible tool available to each curator to shape as desired. At the final outcome, Leslie Locco chose the audiovisual documentation of the collective work of 49 practitioners, as she defines them, selected among approximately 1,000 applications, produced at the end of a month-long collective discussion in the venues of La Biennale between participants, tutors, and the curator herself, with excursions out into various Venetian contexts, used as an experimental laboratory. As you have heard, she would never do it again. Anyway, investment for the College of Art 2022 was at 255,900 euros. Investment for the College of Architettura 2023 was at 350,000 euros. Thank you very much. Go and tell people what we are doing to get young generations coming to Biennale. Finally, Cecilia, the star.
Give me a second that I try to find the presentation. Thank you so much for being here, and I know I'm the only thing that separates you from lunch, so I'll be quick, I promise. Slideshow. So today I'm very happy to be reunited with the Venice Biennale family. I missed you very much. As you know, I had the honor of curating last year's international art exhibition, which was titled The Milk of Dreams. But I want to tell you a little bit more about the exhibition, the Disquieted Muses, that you've heard a lot about from everyone. It was truly an honor for me to curate this exhibition, and I want to tell you what it meant on the curator side to be able to work with an incredible archive like it is the ASAC. And just also to understand the genesis of this project, I was nominated the artistic director in January 2020, 6 weeks after the pandemic began, so you can imagine how stressful it was. And then about 4 weeks after, there was a decision to postpone the Architecture Biennale, which was supposed to happen in 2020 to 2021. So there was this sort of unique moment in which the exhibition venues, so the Central Pavilion and the Arsenale, were all of a sudden empty, because I think it's something that has not happened since the Second World War. So President Cicutto had the great idea of inviting all of us 6 artistic directors of the different disciplines of the Biennale to co-curate an exhibition that would look at the history of the Venice Biennale through its own archive. We focus on those moments in which the Venice Biennale itself, let's say, clashed with a bigger history. So it wasn't necessarily a complete history of the Venice Biennale, but he highlighted several key moments. The title of the exhibition is The Disquieted Muses, and of course the muses were gods, were Zeus and Mnemosyne's daughters. They symbolize the different disciplines of arts, and we like that kind of metaphor to talk about the 6 different disciplines of the Venice Biennale, which are often not necessarily put together, and then the archive as the 7th muse, but also is a kind of quote to the very famous Giorgio de Chirico painting Le Muse Inquietanti, which was exhibited in 1948 at the Venice Biennale. As you heard, it was a very international, interdisciplinary exhibition, and it took place in a section of the Central Pavilion that you see here. And I love showing this picture that also Debora Rossi showed. This is the facade of the same pavilion that you just seen. To me, every time I look at this picture, I think it's a Photoshop, but it was an installation that happened on the facade of the Central Pavilion, where we kind of collaged different fragments of the facades of the same pavilion. You've heard from Andrea that you're looking, when you enter the Central Pavilion, it is the same building that was built back in 1893 to host the first edition of the Venice Biennale, and it kind of followed different styles, because as all the other pavilions in the Giardini, it kind of absorbed different architectural styles to be always contemporary. So this you've seen from 1895. A few years later, the facade gets a bit cleaner. These are the 1910s, and then the more this is the facade from the 1930s, and which is also the one that stays now. And so we took fragments of those facades and kind of gave a sense of how the building itself has changed throughout the years. It's something else that I want to mention is that we worked with a team of designers called Forma Fantasma, who are a very talented duo of Italian designers that help us create like an exhibition layout for the show. And I say that because they eventually became also the designers of the exhibition I curated the following year. But I say that because one of the challenges of this exhibition as a curator is how to transform this incredible group of documents and photographs and faxes and letters, which I believe were about 1,000 items in the exhibition, into an exciting experience also from the viewer's perspective. So the exhibition started not from the very beginning, but we decided to start from the 1930s for several reasons. First of all is the decade in which, as you've heard, different other festivals were introduced. The music festival in 1930s, the movie festival in 1932, and theater in 1934. So the Biennale went from being just an exhibition of modern and contemporary art to a much more complex, pluralistic institutions. But it's also, of course, the sort of decades of the rise of totalitarianism in Europe, so we wanted to begin from that. What you're looking at now is an amazing view of Sala Chini, which is one of the very few historical rooms that are left in the Central Pavilion that is decorated with these beautiful frescoes by Galileo Chini, which were restored just recently, about 10 years ago. And we wanted to start with this presentation that was dedicated to the film festival and its role in the complicated decade of the 1930s and 40s. So you would enter and see this totem with different screens, with films and movies that were both shown, and some were not necessarily censored, but so trying to tell the story of that cultural scene, especially from 1932 to 1939, through the lens of cinema. The larger exhibition, the larger room in the Central Pavilion was then dedicated to both the fascist time up to the Second World War and to, let's say, the Reconstruction time. And so basically, I'm not going to go into that many details, but what you can see is what we created was almost like a labyrinth of panels that would display some of the incredible original materials that are still preserved in the archive, photos and letters, and some of the artworks that, as Debora mentioned, are still present in the archive. And, you know, as a curator, it's an amazing journey through something that, of course, it's there and it's available to everyone, but as you can imagine, normally, given the time that you have to do an exhibition, it's really hard also to study the archive. So I felt very fortunate because I was lucky to have 2 years to do my exhibition, and so I could actually focus and learn a lot from the archive, and in a way it sort of also influenced the way I then thought about the exhibition, The Milk of Dreams. Here I always like to show some of the details of the maps of the Giardini. As you go today to the Biennale, you know, you have, I don't know how many international pavilions are in the Giardini, but there are many, but they were built throughout time. So Belgium was the first one in 1907, but then, of course, many pavilions of the important or kind of powerful countries like France and Germany and England and the States started being built. It's a fascinating story, it's not for this talk, but it also shows the sort of international goal of the institution of the Venice Biennale. I'm going to skip this, and then the second sort of part of this central room was dedicated to the Cold War and the post-war period. The installation again featured like little clips and films, and one of the most important editions was the 1948 edition, especially of course for the visual arts. It was an edition. It was the first edition after the war, and an edition that brought back so many new tendencies and movements that were completely censored during the 20 years of the fascist time. Also, so here you have a little floor plan of that edition. But so it was an edition that on one side looked back and looked at all the different movements and tendencies and artists that were censored during the 20 years of fascism, but then was also very open and forward-thinking and open to the future. So here you can see, I forgot my glasses, so I'll try to point. So you can see the name of Picasso up there. Picasso had never participated in the Venice Biennale until 1948, when he was 67, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But also the Impressionists, there was a show about the Impressionists. The Impressionists were never that welcome in Venice because there was a big competition with France. So the 1948 Biennale tried to adjust, let's say, the history, but also there was something very exciting that Peggy Guggenheim came to Venice before she had her beautiful palazzo on the Grand Canal and took over the Greek pavilion, which was left empty at that point for the Civil War, and brought for the very, very first time her incredible collection of American art to Venice, to Italy, to Europe. Here you can see a gorgeous picture of her adjusting a collar, and then a sort of a maquette. The exhibition layout was curated by Carlos Scarpa, who had a very long relationship with not just Venice, but with the Biennale, doing different architectural interventions. And so we collaborated with the Guggenheim, who lent us these beautiful models where you can see this incredible layout of artworks from the Surrealist time, but also of very young artists like Jackson Pollock, and that she started collecting and supporting in those years. Then the exhibition continues, and just very quickly mentioning curatorially how you can also sort of digest and process this incredible archive, which is often just two-dimensional. So for the years of 1968, which was another incredible edition of the Venice Biennale, which was the year of the student protests coming to Venice, we decided to, instead of showing necessarily original documents, we turned them into video to kind of communicate the energy of those years, or that edition. As you probably know, many artists threatened to withdraw from Venice. There was a lot of police in town. So these are some of the amazing pictures that you could see in the exhibition. And then the 1970s, which is an amazing period for the Venice Biennale, in particular the years 74 to 78, when Carlo Ripa di Meana was president, and he completely transformed the organization, the institution, not just internally, but also on what the actual exhibitions and festivals were like. So this room was dedicated to that, and he kind of broke away from the idea of doing one big exhibition and transformed the Biennale as a festival that would basically happen every day of the year, not just in the venues, but also in the city of Venice. There were also very political, very engaged editions. And to me, one of the most marvelous surprises of doing this show was to see these. These were the catalogs. They were called annuari. They are incredible. You can actually find them still online. I would urge you to buy them because it's an incredible portrait of what, the effervescence of the cultural scene in Venice through the Biennale was like. And here you have other incredible pictures, but also, as I said, they were fairly politically open. So this was another incredible finding. As Debora mentioned, the ASAC also has artworks, and these were incredible murals that were done for the edition of 1974, which was dedicated to Chile and to Pinochet and to the coup of Pinochet. And so these were murals that were realized in the city of Venice, and they were basically white canvases installed in the different campi. And then here you can see one of the original pictures. And then both Italian artists and artists from Chile came and were basically just bringing the tradition of muralism to the city of Venice. And most of these panels are still in Venice at the Biennale. So it was the first time that we were able to exhibit them. And then, there was an edition dedicated to Spain and one also to the Russian descent cultural scene. I won't go into too many details. And then a little focus on 1980, the first edition of the Architecture Biennale, which was the first edition where the Arsenale was used with an amazing exhibition by Paolo Portoghesi, La Strada Nuovissima. It's a little bit hard to see, but imagine in that picture, black and white, he transformed the entire Corderie into a strada, into a road with architectural installation both left and right that you can enter. So it was an incredible feast, and it was also the year of the first edition of Aperto, the sort of young section of the Art Biennale, which was curated by Achille Bonito Oliva and Harald Zeman at the Magazzine del Sale. And then, of course, we did a little focus on the shocks and scandals of the Biennale, including some incredible installations in the 70s, but also early 90s, Jeff Koons and Cicerina, when he brought his first, series Made in Heaven. And then the exhibition kind of ended in the 1990s. So we didn't want to go all the way to now, but we focused on the 1990s as the decades, of course, of the sort of reflection on the end of the Cold War, the fall of the Berlin Wall, but also sort of the fall of this idea of the nation state, which is also the idea that the Venice Biennale is kind of founded on. And so there were many incredible exhibitions in the 1990s, starting from 93, with a pavilion with the German pavilion by Hans Sake. You probably have seen this picture in which he completely broke the floor of the German pavilion and wrote Germania on the back, but also the Kabakov. And then this was a famous installation by Marina Abramovic in Germano Celan's 1997 exhibition. So again, artists and curators thinking about the end of the idea of the nation state. And this was a sort of overview of how the sort of pavilions changed throughout the years. I think I'm going to stop here because we're going to go otherwise. But yes, just mentioning that as a curator for me was was an incredible experience, not just learning, but also absorbing some of the same concepts and using it for the show that I eventually did, but this is for another talk. So thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you so much for this very intense and rich presentation of the Biennale. And so I would like to thank our speakers. I'd like to start with Andrea Del Mercato, who is the Director General, with Roberto Cicutto, who is the President, Debora Rossi, Head of the Historical Archive, and Cecilia Alemani, the best curator in the history of the Biennale. But the matinee is not over, because we can continue talk and together drinking something on the foyer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.